Namaste and welcome everyone. I'm glad you're here again today. I hope you've had a good week, that you've been healthy and happy, as we all have a right to be. Today we deal with episode 11 from Aware in a World of Sleep, a principled way for living spiritually. Principle 7 is I am my brother's brother, not my brother's keeper. This one may cause you a little problem, particularly if you've been steeped in certain phases of dogmestication from various religious sects or groups. But consider it. Don't run away from it. Be mad at me if you want for a while, but at least consider what you're going to be hearing. And the answer Jesus would give if he had been asked about am I my brother's brother, he would say, I am my brother's brother, not my brother's keeper. It's amazing how many have distorted Cain's answer to the Lord in Genesis 4:9 to mean that it is our life purpose to be our brother's keeper. Because it has been taught from the pulpit that this is so, religious leaders have verified this judgment by translating Jesus' acts to support their belief. From a spiritual foundation, however, when we charge ourselves with taking care of the needs of others, all others, we are shortchanging both them and ourselves from the beginning. We abuse their right to individual privacy, as well as disrespecting their spiritual perfection and their right to be it in their own ways, in their own time. And we hold our own unique expression of women in abeyance. Each is an act lacking spiritual authenticity, integrity. The only way that we can be our brother's keeper would be if we believe that our brother is separate from us. But when grounded in ego consciousness, holding others to be who they are not, we hold others in bondage to their humanness. Wisdom's obligation is to hold all in the vision of spiritual awareness that individually expresses itself. When we see life as individual expressions of the one, we come to see that as the only truth. And we are honor-bound to hold all in that truth. I am confident that if Jesus were asked if we were to be our brother's keeper, he would have answered that we are not. Why would I even think or say such a thing? Because the Bible is a series of allegories depicting essentially ego consciousness. If we were to be our brother's keeper, it would be acting out of a sense of separateness, not oneness. Thus, to take care of our brother, seen as different and separate from us, is to imply that spiritual means can be used to heal physical illness or affect some other physical change. The emphasis on changing some condition external to us, or healing someone separate from us or different than we are, conveys a statement grounded in, you guessed it, ego consciousness. On the other hand, however, when we see our brother in the same light we are, or sister for that matter, in the same light we are, all we need do is hold all that sameness of truth, the principle of spiritual life. When we hold all, irrespective of appearance, in the enlightened spirit of oneness, we are holding them in their perfection. This is how Jesus saw all, as one individualized, as brothers and sisters, giving brothers and sisters the proper perception of divine consciousness, that one as all, one is all. He saw no error where others saw humans as diseased, physical and mental entities. The best they could do in this context was to want to practice thinking spiritually. But until they witnessed their own wisdom, they could not act out of inner truth. The single principle that holds us all is perfect, even as our innate wisdom, or what we would call God, is perfect. One cannot serve spiritual consciousness or ego consciousness simultaneously. Either oneness is the principle by which we live and act, or it is not. To keep the explanation of spiritual life simple, each of us has only to answer and honor the still, small voice. Through religious dogmestication, many of us have learned to pray for others, even if we have no idea we are. We launch out full force, thinking we can and should heal what aids them, as though our prayers could do such a thing, and even worse yet, as though we knew what they needed, and as if we had their permission. Yet as we have learned earlier in this work, prayers do no such thing. The only real prayer is to live true to what we are. Living true to what we are does not include taking care of someone else, unless the wisdom of the moment bids us to enter that arena. To pray for someone who has not requested it, or from whom we have not gained permission, is an invasion of privacy, and also forces our own ego consciousness onto them. This does not mean we should not offer our assistance when called for. In this case, when we go inward for the best ways to serve the call. Following the call of wisdom is precisely our purpose. However, there is a big difference between making ourselves into a martyr or exercising a messianic complex and simply following inner authority. The real task at hand. So far, we have come to the awareness that what we see outside us is only appearance of what is not real, spiritually, that is. This being so, what is ours to care for? You got to care for an illusion? The only thing to care for is our view of life, our innate essence of being. When we are looking at life from a perspective of appearances to be dealt with, we are saying all outside us is real and thus needs either to be enjoyed or fixed. Spiritually, the only thing we can change is how we are viewing life. This is our single task, discerning our current perspective and realigning it with spiritual truth. Life becomes a never-ending commitment to full perception, to shift perception, raising physical appearance to spiritual awareness at every turn. With practice, we become more and more adept at this process until at some point it becomes routine, our new habit, as it were. Just a glimpse of erroneous perception provides the impetus for transcendence, and we are born yet again into the awareness of wisdom that is to guide us on our way. One simple way to think about this process is think of a time when you became aware of a misspelled word in some book you were reading. Could you change the spelling of the word in the book? No, not really. You cannot magically shift the letters on a printed page to what you think is the correct way. What can you do about it, however? You can correct the spelling in your mind. Simply correct the spelling in your mind. The same is true for each and any error you see or hear elsewhere. Life is not about changing someone who does not speak, act, or write to your point of view, no more than it is to fix someone's disease. So-called disease, I should say. Our only task is to correct inwardly what we are witnessing outside of us, so we walk forward with a deeper view intact. It is from this continuous commitment that we become more spiritually adept. The same is true with any erroneous appearance we see or hear outside ourselves. When we see someone making the claim of disease, our only task is to see the perfection of that person instead. Inwardly, from the secrets conveyed by the voice of wisdom, we can use the simple declarations when such error come before us, like, that's not God, or that's not the truth, or truth is perfect, and this appearance is not that. Having made the correction in our perception, we then simply move on without further ado. That's the best we can do. Surely we can respond to a call for help, but not if we are still holding on to the idea that someone who is already perfect somehow needs changing. If we respond to a call for help, our purpose is to hold the space of truth for the one who calls upon us until they can shift their inner perception for themselves. In this way, they are led to transcendence by our example. If you have ever been to the bedside of one claiming disease without buying into their claim, you surely saw their spirits lift in your presence. How could this be so? Just a few moments ago, as you entered, they were embedded in the belief of demise lodged in the diagnosis. I would say the false diagnosis. Yet by staying in your own perfection and renting that same perfection to the one making the claim, silently within, they return, even if only temporarily, to their truth. This goes to show you that the example we set lifts all around us to that same level. Indeed, we hold all in the truth of our being. Others cannot help but feel better and even closer to that truth themselves, hopefully even as that same truth themselves. Spiritually, divine consciousness holds no maladies. Wisdom is free from all limitations, all misperceptions, and all erroneous thoughts, anything that is opposed to our wholeness, our oneness. Therefore, our purpose in this regard is to inwardly correct any allegiance to such error, any attachment to opposite others' belief and opinion. When we leave such intact, we are exercising a great disservice to mankind. It is our obligation to correct such erroneous appearance, so our example can lift the universe likewise. This may seem like an impossible task, yet it is not. It's simple. Just return to your enlightened state, and you will recall that whatever you do to correct misperception is somehow correcting it for all. This is the only lifting we are to do, and we don't need to talk about it with anyone. Pray. That is, live in secret, Jesus told us. Demonstrate our inner calling of truth secretly. Thus, both dis-ease and duality are eliminated from view. When we share our inner connection openly, we betray its purpose. Our purpose is to commune with wisdom and get out of our own way so we can flourish free from any ties to ego consciousness. To share this communion with another is to admit there is another when there is only wisdom individualized. All others, in quotes, will automatically be lifted somehow, simply because they also are the one individualized. Besides, to do so could easily influence one not highly versed in spirituality, to think we are using spirituality to shift human condition. We are not doing that. We are only abiding the awareness, the true awareness of the only true one. On the other hand, if you are asked to teach about such things, you should feel free to respond affirmatively, providing you are also demonstrating what you teach, that is, walking your talk. When walking your talk from spiritual intention, you are lending your truth to inspire theirs. And it is from the spaciousness of the holy truth within you that is connecting with the same holy truth in them, that they will come to comprehend and live more fully on their own. When we look at the world this way, we are not overcoming any particular problem or looking for any particular favor. We are simply taking ourselves into a different dimension of consciousness. We can be conscious of physicality. We can take ourselves to another level of consciousness by seeing life spiritually and by using intellect to head in the direction of some new perspective. The ideal is to go even further to the heart of the wisdom where all is perfect, even as what's been said, God is perfect. By treading this path, we are not seeking to correct anything outside ourselves. It is amazing how problems thought to be real suddenly dissipate before our eyes. It is a natural outcome of living spiritually. Our purpose, then, is to maintain a sense of the voice of wisdom, to shift outer appearance to inner reality, and to abort allegiance to outer authority in favor of abiding our inner authority. In this way, we indeed die daily. Not literally, we die regularly to outer appearance that forms as dis-ease with egocentric life. So we carry life disease-free through eternity. As long as we proceed on this path, we are continually free from all that holds us from the awareness of our completeness. In spiritual consciousness, any form of darkness is rendered obsolete. This is the function of enlightenment, after all. I saw this on a bumper sticker one day. If God were everything to me, nothing would bother me. Wow, I wonder. Is this possible? Yes. This is precisely what we are talking about here. If something is bothering me, it's because I I am seeing it for what it is not. I am seeing the appearance of it and the distance I feel from giving some errant appearance power and notifying me to that fact. In each instance where this occurs, it is a sure clue that I am going within for corrective measures of some kind. The easy way to start this process of inner harmony is to remember not to take the resonance too seriously. It is but one sure sign we are out of sorts with our inner truth. When we get past the idea that there are many alternatives for dealing with discord and come to apply only conscious awareness regularly, we will have arrived at home. When we have learned to stay in awareness, indeed everything absolutely will be as what we have called God or sacred consciousness to us. And truly nothing will bother us any longer. How could residing in wisdom be bothersome, for goodness sakes? The key here is to remember to practice conscious awareness all throughout the day, every day. We must persist if we are to be freed of all that has held us in the past, or of the fear of the past repeating itself in the future. This process is not about being our own psychiatrist so we can clear every little piece of erroneous perception before we can be perfect. It's about practicing conscious awareness of our inherent wisdom, which in and of itself frees us from any and all misperceptions. When we let up our fear, we need a break from it all. Not only are we letting ourselves down, we are obviating our spiritual commitment to the universe. Each of us is called to be only what we are throughout eternity. By fulfilling this calling, we honor both others and ourselves. Each aspect of our inner calling is for a more universal purpose than some just selfish act itself. This may all be true, but if not practiced or if ignored, it might as well not be true at all. Ignorance or laziness are not excuses for failing to respond to our inner calling. Once aware of this calling, it is ours to follow, period. Indeed, each element of inner calling is to be exercised through humility. Humility is thus defined as getting out of our own way and giving ourselves to the language of the still small voice. Living in our wisdom, our innate wisdom, brings all who come in contact with us, even temporarily, to that same deep level of spiritual consciousness on some level of their understanding. True, some around you may think you have lost it, are following some weird spirit or voice of insanity. Their view matters not one iota. All that matters is that you are delivering wisdom into the world. How another person deciphers your demonstration of wisdom is none of your business. No matter how they convey their feelings about your behavior, however, each is lifted in some measure to deeper meaning, even as only as a seed planted. In this way, we are indeed like Johnny Appleseed, who scattered apple seeds that others might flourish. Scatter your seeds of wisdom then, so what becomes of the seeds will be laden with spiritual fruit for one and for all. And so there we are, folks, at the end of episode 10 of Principle 7. Actually, that is the last of the principles. There's a little more text to follow, but that's the last of the several principles. I hope for sure that you drink this in. You may want to listen to it a couple more times. As I've said in the past, it may be beneficial for you if you do better by reading than by hearing. To get a copy of the book, it's available through my website, www.theinwardway.live. Creation Spirit's my email address. Anyhow, there's a post that came across my eye this week. I'd like to share it with you. It's from Eckhart Tolle, a brilliant man, really. I know many of you have read a lot of his work, and you would agree. Here's the quote. Some changes look negative on the surface, but you will soon realize that space is being created in your life for something new to emerge. So for those of you who think, what a negative life I'm leading, celebrate it, for goodness sakes. That's essentially what Eckhart's saying. Some changes look negative on the surface, But you will soon realize, if you just be patient and continue listening, that space is being created in your life for something new to emerge. And I will say to you, emerge it will. Just be patient, my friends, pachens. So that's the end of our session for today. Next week we'll be dealing with chapter 10, which is entitled, interestingly, Why Bother? So we'll see why bother next week. Until then, I hope you stay well and are happy as can be. Happiness is your natural essence, by the way. I know you know that, so be happy. Be love. Namaste, my friends. I love you.